So on a type course, you start with a presentation of the front, the back of the aircraft, all the manuals involved, and how the whole aircraft has become a thing. And then we get to chapters 31, which is the instrumentation system, how to be able to, once you switch power on, which is chapter 24, which is the one after this one. So basically put the power on and put the instrument panels on and get a live aircraft. Chapter 31, we talk about EFIS. EFIS, again, the A320 was one of the protagonists of the fully glass cockpit. So we used to have ADIs and HSIs, horizontal situation indicators, and attitude director indicators that were two analog dials in front of each pilot. Now, with the invention of the so-called glass cockpit, the electronic flight instrumentation system, we can provide pilots now with screens where they have multifunction displays. And that's what we did. So Airbus separated their screens into the EFIS screens for captain and co-pilot. Okay, and also they made two other displays here called the ECAM screens, which stands for Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitoring. Okay, so we've done away with a lot of indicating lamps for individual systems now, and we have TV screens where we can select systems, we can provide the pilots with checklists, we can look at centralized faults, record faults, as well as select multifunction displays on this inboard and this inboard navigation display for the pilots to choose whatever they want to observe. Now, we're going to have a lot of acronyms coming up. So like EFIS, for example, ECAM, make use of the acronyms or the document that Wendy sent maybe yesterday, the day before. It's a list of acronyms for the A320. Have it by you, maybe make a printout of it so you can use it throughout these 10 sessions and in the future as well. 4 EFIS screens and 2 ECAM screens. For the ECAM, we'll start with that. So the ECAM, we have 3 SDACs. 2 SDACs, 3 DMCs. The DMCs are what you would say are graphics generators. They basically have the ability to put all the pictures on the screens. Okay, so we have a display management computer number 1, which is usually the active one. Okay, and then we have display management computer number 2, which is in backup, and display management computer number 3, which is in backup. We'll see a lot of this on the A320. That's what made it such a robust aircraft, where invariably there are 3 systems of everything. Number 1 system is dedicated for the captain's side, and number 2 is dedicated for the co-pilot side, first officer side, and number 3 is in hot standby and is switchable to the left, to the number 1 position, or to the right, number 2 position, if that one fails. So that's the general principle. Okay, so these are the computers basically which provide the information that's put up on the 2 ECAM displays. Okay, we have the so-called symbol generators. We have 2 system data acquisition concentrators, SDACs. Okay, and what do? Well, what they do, they take all the information from the aircraft systems, sensors, airspeed information, altitude information, the time from satellites, there all the information comes in various different kinds of units of measurement. Okay, so the system data acquisition concentrators convert all this information into a common language, because you can't have a computer system needs to process data as long as it's all uniform data in one single language. So all these units of information coming in, altitude in feet or in meters, fuel in pounds or kilos, the time, the angle of attack sensors, every single bit of information that's coming through is coming in its own particular unit. When it leaves these two boxes, it goes into these in ones and zeros, which the computers can process. These computers here process these signals into a video signal and put the information up onto these screens. And that's how it works. The flight warning computers are exclusively responsible for putting up red, which is warnings, and amber faults displayed up in the cockpit for the pilot's attention, which they can visually, through these master warning or master caution lights, or orally through these loudspeakers, hear and see the warnings as they come up. Okay, so they might be busy looking out the window, trying to avoid an aeroplane, and then they might not see the light that comes on, but a light will always be accompanied by a sound to get their attention. And that's the way the system has been designed on this, and it works pretty well. In fact, it works so well that the 330 followed this architecture, the 340 and the 330 followed this architecture. The 380 followed this architecture, and the 350 also follows this architecture. So Airbus have designed something 45 years ago that's even being used today, and it's going to be used for the next generation. Okay, so as we said, the two ECAM screens here, these ones, we have an upper ECAM display and a lower ECAM display, and they have separate names, as in one's called an EWD, an engine and warnings display. So here we have the engine, the primary engine parameters, and below this line we have the warnings. And the bottom screen is used exclusively, or in the majority of the time, as a systems display. So you can display different kinds of systems through this ECAM control panel here, which sits just at the bottom of this panel here. So it would be here, basically, on the center pedestal. Okay, and has these different layouts here, engine. So you can choose to see the secondary engine parameters, because the primary ones are on the top one. So I can see on the bottom screen the secondary engine parameters. I can see the bleed parameters, the pressurization parameters, the electrics, how they're behaving on the aircraft, the hydraulics, how they're behaving on the aircraft, the fuel systems, the APU, the air conditioning, the doors and the stroke oxygen page, the wheels page, the flight controls. And if for any reason these were not working, I can select this all button here and keep it pressed, or just flick through it, and I will change the screens, the different displays, till I get to the one I want to observe. Okay. I also have the facility to check the status of the aircraft with this push button here. In fact, the picture that's on now on the system display is the status page, which is showing me this is just used for training. This isn't real, but you can see all these in-op systems. Okay, and you can see some advice, some QRHs, some advice to the pilot in terms of a defect. So this is the general layout of how a status page would look. Okay, and there is also, if there is some stuff in this section here, which is usually for class 2 faults, you'd get a maintenance, a system in maintenance in this status page as well. Okay. Below this line, there is the so-called permanent data here. Okay, where you got the aircraft gross weight, you got the clock, okay, and the outside temperatures, etc. here. Okay, so very ergonomically sound bit of design. Okay, don't forget the attention getters. These here, in front of the view of each pilot, one in front of the captain, one in front of the co-pilot, to get their attention visually. If something happens, and they'll get these come up, an indication here as well, and they'll also get an oral from the loudspeakers. Depending on the severity of it, they'll get the respective urgency of the oral signal to be able to act upon it. Okay. Those display management computers not only work for the ECAMs as well, and as symbol generators or graphics generators, they also take the navigational data and process it and provide the pictures onto the screens. Notably, if you remember before, DMC, and only DMC number 1 was in operation and the other 2 were in standby. In this arrangement here, DMC 1 is providing the pictures on the screens for the left-hand side, and DMC 2 is providing the pictures for the right-hand side of the co-pilot. When I say pictures, the outside ones, the primary flight displays, are the outboard ones, and this is permanent. So this is a permanent display, but the navigation display is a display unit. It's at the moment it's showing as a navigation display, but these are display units which are switchable. They're multifunction display units because they can display several other things, which we'll see further down the line.